And we're live. Good morning. It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's Woke Women Wednesday. Senator Dianne Wilkerson here with you. We have an exciting show, really a continuation from last week. I told you last week that we would have a conversation about Massachusetts. You know, last week we had a conversation with Barbara Arnwine, the national president of Transformative Justice Coalition, who talked about what's happening with both the Ahmaud Arbery case, but also what's happening with voting rights on the national level. So today, we're going to talk about Massachusetts. But before I introduce my special guest, I always have to start by saying thank you to the ladies with the vision, the women with the vision who had an idea in 2020, right? It wasn't even about COVID, but just felt strongly about how important was and is to have a medium at our disposal for Black people in Greater Boston to get news in a timely fashion. And so every week on Wednesday morning, I'm here at 11, Dianne Wilkerson, talking to you about all things, they say Black, brown, and COVID, which really means all things because COVID it really invaded every aspect of our waking and sleeping lives. And then at 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening, my fierce and fearless warrior, City Councilor Julia Mejia, she closes it down. So I'm here at 11, she's here at 8 p.m., and we try to bring information to you. So I always tell people when you get on, when you come on Woke Women Wednesday on Wednesday morning, you better just keep a pencil and a piece of paper near you all the time because today is important. We've had so much conversation about what's happening on voting rights on the national level. And you know, some crazy stuff happening. We're going to have to continue the fight to make sure that we have access to voting. And then once we vote, our votes get counted. And so I asked our special guest, who actually was here a year ago, talking with us about the things that Massachusetts is going to put in place so that we could vote through COVID, remember? Because it wasn't an easy task for us to do. But Cheryl Clyburn Crawford is no newbie to this conversation. She is the executive director for Mass Vote and do all things around voting rights in Massachusetts. And while we were so focused on what was going on with Manchin and Sinema, will they, won't they, Massachusetts in the last 2 weeks was engaged in a very lively and fierce debate over voting reform and a series of proposals that were on the table, really being championed by Mass Vote. And last week passed a bill. And most of us, I realize, people don't know we had it and don't know what's in it. And so we asked the expert to come here today to share with us kind of what we need to know, what was in the bill, what passed, what didn't. And this is 2022. We're going to be electing a new governor, constitutional officers, the auditor, the attorney general, the treasurer. Our Congress is on the ballot. Our state legislators are on the ballot. And so with that, I'm going to welcome and turn it over to Cheryl Clyburn Crawford. Cheryl, good morning.
Good morning, Senator Wilkerson. Thank you so much for having me join you today for, just being here to be able to pass on this great information to our community. I hope they know what this bill is about because we had all last year really been working hard in the community to bring it to people, to solicit support so people can understand this is no walk in the park. These are these are bills that should be passed. Non-starter, right? Last week, the Massachusetts House of Representatives passed a massive election bill known as the Votes Act. And that bill was filed by Representative John.
Say that again. The Votes Act?
The Votes Act, right? It was filed by Representative John Lawn and Senator Cynthia Cream, and it included so many important voting reforms that did get passed, things like permanent mail-in ballots, permanent early in-person voting. They were able to move the voter registration deadline from 20 days to 10 days. They also included this piece on jail-based voting, right? Like many of our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated really still have the right to vote. They're there in waiting, misdemeanors. Folks like that are in prison do have the right to vote while they're in prison. They just
most people don't know that,
They don't know that they have the right to vote while they're there, and they clearly don't know they have the right to vote once they return. Returning citizens have the right to vote. You just have to register
immediately.
immediately. And we set up procedures so that we could do voter registration while they're coming out, right? Like while they're cycling out during that period of time, they have the opportunity to go ahead and register, one, so they don't miss the voter registration deadlines that we're working really hard to push back on. But when this bill came to the floor of the House on January 27th, one of its key provisions was removed from the bill: same day registration. We've been advocating for same day registration for years. As a matter of fact, this is so funny. I was hired at MassVote in 2008 as an organizer
Wow.
to fight.
14 years ago.
That's right, to fight for election day registration, same day registration. Wow. Here it is, 2022. I'm the executive director, and we still don't have that reform.
But that's important for people to hear, just to know things that often don't happen overnight. And ironically, the things that we put on the table that would help folk of color are often the ones that take the longest, right?
That's right. That's right.
But we got to persevere.
We have to. We can't give up. I mean, as long as the foot is on our neck, we can't give up. But one of the pieces they took out of the bill was same day registration. It was passed on the Senate side. Same day registration means that you're able to register and vote on the same day. It's in 20 different states and Washington, D.C. What they did was they took that out of the bill on the House side. So we asked, and I always have to lift her up in this space, Representative Nika Elgato. We were looking around for somebody to file an amendment. This stuff happens really, really fast. When they took it out, we had to file an amendment right away. We needed somebody to file it. She stepped up. We asked many people didn't, for whatever reason, but she did, and that's what we needed. And then, can I tell you, when she stepped out on the floor, she performed masterfully, like hitting all the points. And I bring that up because one of the things, they took same day out, and we wanted to compromise with them and have EDR. So it's SDR, same day, and EDR, election day. So we wanted to compromise because we've been in conversations with the town clerks who have to perform this work. And we understand that it's a change for them and perhaps a challenge. And one of the things that they stated, because they said if we have to pick one of them, we want EDR, because what we don't want to have happening is the polls changing every day during early voting because people are registering. We said, okay, we can compromise with that, because what we really need is a measure that allows us to have access to the ballot on election day if you have missed the voter registration deadline. People miss the voter registration deadline for many reasons. One, because they forget to re-register when they move. I really don't understand why your voter registration doesn't follow you. I mean, like when you move, your magazines follow you. You don't even have to tell the post office you moved. They send them to your new address.
That's
so
right.
We were hoping that your voter registration could work.
Your license isn't invalid because you move, right?
Exactly. We already know that according to a poll that was conducted by UMass Amherst and WCVB, that nearly 2/3 of Massachusetts residents really support EDR. We also know that according to research conducted by UMass Amherst and the think tank Demos, right, that EDR boosts voter turnout amongst Black and Brown communities upwards of 17%. Right? Why would we not do that? They took it out of the bill and they kicked it to a study. We said, a study? How long are we going to study this thing? Not only a study, if you want to study something, study the 20 states that have already implemented it. Like I think we're the only New England state that does not have same day or EDR, one of those two. We're compromising for EDR. We just want a measure that will allow us to have access. We see it as an equity issue because mostly Black and Brown people, young people, new immigrants, new citizens tend to move a lot.
Very transit population. We always have been.
We move a lot. We don't register or remember to register. And then we're not even going to talk about the housing crisis that's taking place, that's forcing people. I mean, like, it's just a snowball of issues that we run up against, different barriers. This is 2022. We should really be making voter accessibility easier, not putting up. I just feel like how do I say this? We elect, where I'm going. We
Speak
elect
it.
people to
Speak it.
support
What
our
we do
issues.
here, that's for sure.
That's what we do. We fight to get people in office. This is a note that people should pay attention to. That's why it's so critically important that you get the right people in office to support your issues. When you tell me a statistic that says 2/3 of the citizens in Massachusetts support EDR, then why don't we have it? Why don't we have it? And so there's reasons that, there's different reasons. I'm not going to get into the different reasons why some of our legislators and leadership do not particularly care for this. It's not a secret, right? That's exactly why we don't have it. But I think it's time for us to take bold moves. We're working, we're compromising, but it's time for our leaders to take bold moves. It's time for us to elect the people that will go up there and truly represent us. I always say that it's your mission. When you're elected from the community, we send you up there with a mission. You
That's
take it
right.
on as a job.
That's
So
right.
when things get a little squirrely up there, a little gray up there, you stand up and you want to protect your job. You forget the mission on why we sent you up there. That's a problem. That's a problem.
I think, we talk about this often. That would be my overall general observation is that our electoral politics, our elected representatives are in a place that we can observe where protecting the office is much more important than protecting the purpose and the reason you said you wanted to serve
Mm-hmm.
is the bottom line.
Exactly. It's really important that Massachusetts passes a reform like EDR. Given the nation's political climate, you said Barbara was here last week
Yes,
to
yes,
talk about them not passing the John Lewis bill and the other voting rights bill, right? To reinstate the
that's
Voting
right.
Rights Act, right, of 1965. I can hardly believe that my whole entire life we're still fighting for the exact same thing.
Same thing.
The
Have to
exact
do a
same.
reauthorization every 10 years, right? In fact, I want to add to the mix, lest people think this is just, oh, why are we even bothering? Yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States struck down a lower court ruling in Alabama. Remember
Mhm,
where it all started. Think about this in Black History Month,
mhm,
just 3 weeks before the commemoration of the Bloody Sunday and the walk in Selma across the bridge, the
mhm,
Supreme Court of the United States struck down a lower court ruling, which ruled the lower court, district court in Alabama ruled that the redrawn congressional maps were designed to intimidate and disenfranchise Black people.
mhm,
Specifically, they make up 25% of the population of Alabama. They have 7 congressional seats. So you would think that should mean maybe so they have a 1/4. The
mhm,
map as drawn put Montgomery, Selma, Birmingham all in the same congressional district. So under this new map, they're going to have an opportunity to elect one congressperson, Black congressperson, a person of color, Black and Latinos in Alabama. That's what happened yesterday. So when people think, oh man, what is this all about? We better be mindful because the one thing that is so critically important is to remember that the conversations about drawing maps, about voting,
mhm,
is a state matter. That's why I wanted you here because people think that it's all done in Washington. No, the maps are drawn on the state level, and even the congressional maps are
mhm,
drawn on the state level. The state legislature not only draws the maps for Congress, the congressional districts, but also for the Senate districts, also for the House of Representatives on the state. So we have 160 members in our House of Representatives. That map on what that 160 member district looks like
mhm,
was drawn right here in at Beacon Hill at the State House. The map for the state Senate, and we just went through major redistricting and have a brand new map in Boston that was done in Boston. But more importantly than the maps, the laws, which is why you all have been so critical in leading the effort for voting reform measures in Massachusetts. People are like, well, who? Somebody's got to take care of that. But that's not the way that politics, electoral
Mhm.
politics works. I want you to talk about that.
You know, it's funny because we always get engaged. The turnout in Massachusetts is so extremely low. It's low. In presidential election years, the last couple of years, it's been really exciting. And so it's been around 70%. Municipal elections, 30%. That's a less than a third of the people in the city or town that you're in elect the officials that are going to govern you. Local politics is everything. And that's the
Right.
thing that we really try to get people to understand. That is local politics. Those people, those elected officials that are the closest to you are the ones that really control your quality of life on a daily basis. They're the ones that are fighting for your school boards, your water boards, and making sure that you have parks and green
That's
spaces
right.
and things of that nature in your community. You know, and building reforms that really open it up, removing the barriers is how we get people in. It opens up the field, you know, in a way that ranked choice voting would have done. I'm sorry we didn't get ranked choice voting back last year. It didn't pass, and I'm hoping we can pass it on state, town by town, city by city, on a
Right.
municipal
Right.
level, because it's critical. Particularly in a year, you mentioned it, this is a very important year. We have governor's race, secretary of state, all those elections happening. We have our state senate. We have open seats all over the place. I'm hearing people. We have district attorney races. And then we have our ballot initiatives, right? Like I always tell people, you have to vote the ballot front and back. And if there's two
That's right.
pages, both pages, front and back. Don't skip anything. And I work with a coalition of organizations like the Election Modernization Coalition to pass these kinds of reforms. I also work with the Massachusetts Voter Table and the API's CAN and the Mirror. All of us are working together as a democracy hubs to lock arms together so that we have more power, so
That's
that
right.
people can understand that what's happening in southern parts of Massachusetts or western parts of Massachusetts, in the Springfields and Holyoaks and the Lawrence and the Lynn's and the Lowells, right? Like these are really gateway cities. What's happening in those gateway cities is absolutely happening here in Boston.
You reminded me of something during the last mayoral election. A lot of the conversation that went on was about the elected school committee, right? We
Mm-hmm.
had a ballot question, as you mentioned, that spoke of reinstating the elected school committee in Boston. And it passed by the highest number of votes ever cast on a ballot question in Boston. That is so significant. And it doesn't happen by accident. It speaks to the work that was done, right? By the folks who were advocating that yes on three. 99,000 votes. You talk about Michelle Wu getting a mandate with 65,000. The ballot question got 30,000, 35,000 more votes than the mayor got. That says a lot, right?
Yeah,
That says a
absolutely.
lot. Why is it important? You know what I know, Cheryl. Um, I do a lot of reading from the University of from Rutgers University has a whole kind of division on women in politics. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that they have read, and you think about it, it makes sense, is that school committees are often the most likely way women get involved in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons why I'm excited that Boston will is in the process of reinstating an elected school committee, because it has been the stepping stone. Now, some people hear that word and they think it's like a curse word, right? Oh my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
God, stepping stone. They said, well, the problem with the elected school committee is that everybody is, you know, serving on the committee because they want to run for other office. Really? How weird was that in a race where half of the city council was running for mayor? And I
Exactly.
don't have a problem with it because I think that's the whole point. If you don't get into politics looking to do better and looking to do better, you see another form where you could do it. What would be the purpose of getting involved in politics? But it's all about the electoral process. And that's
Absolutely.
what you guys keep your eyes on.
All the time, just making sure that we, one of the other areas that we're working hard in is language access.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yes.
Like, how do you send instructions in different languages for mail in ballots and then the ballots in English? How do they fill it out? When you go to your polling location, and we're a very diverse city culturally. We're just a very diverse city, Cape Verdean, Haitian Creole, all the diasporas of the African coalition. We have Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese. Everybody needs to be able to go to the poll and read what's happening there. So
True.
we're working hard in that area as well. Language access, removing the barriers, letting people vote. Someone asked me the other day, they said, I don't understand how we can do everything online and we can't vote online. I said, you're asking for a lot. We can't even get in person, same day
Right.
registration. Right.
Right.
You're talking about voting
Exactly.
online. We can't get same day registration. I keep bringing same day registration up because so many people are unclear, particularly our legislators. Many of them gave this
What was
reason.
the argument against it?
Same day registration. Well, they said that it's going to be challenging to implement. Well, here's what I say.
Life
But
is
what
challenging.
their main thing is about fraud. The whole thing is about fraud. And I say that's almost ridiculous because we can't get people to vote here one time, never mind twice or three times to change an
Right.
election. Really? Our numbers are below 30% on average. So that is absolutely not the case. But there's other issues. People talked about funding. All I know is that there's about $50 million that the Secretary of State is holding on to Harvard money. Why can't we use some of that money to have electronic poll books? Like, you can't use it for certain things, but clearly we could use some of that money to modernize our election process. And
That's
that's
right.
where we are. They use poll books when we started doing early here in Boston and a couple of other places. They use the electronic poll books. That gives you real time. When people are registering and voting, you see it because it's connected to a central system. We finally, I'm embarrassed to say, in this bill, but I'm happy to say at the same time, in the bill that they just passed in the House, we finally are going to implement ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center. Now, mind you, we passed this bill in 2014. This is 2022. We still haven't implemented it. So I'm seriously hoping that we will get it in, get it through. They did some other fixes like for automatic voter registration.
Yeah.
I applaud those measures. I really do. I don't want to slight them. It's just that the one that we need the most that's going to give us the absolute um, it's the absolute stopgap to voting, in my opinion. Right? Like, if you forgot to just register, if you forgot to register for whatever reason, if you
It's so
forgot
easy
to
to miss a deadline.
it's especially when it's 20 days out.
And especially when there's not a whole lot of constant messages in your face about how you do it.
Oh, I do want to bring this point up before we get up. We have a big election this year. Yes. People, do not sleep the primary elections that will happen in September. We always look for the November election, the general election. Massachusetts, and particularly Boston, and many of our cities and states, many of our cities and towns in Massachusetts, the election is won in September, in the primary election. And I'm hoping that the media will play into this year because it's so exciting and so electric. The field is so full that I'm really hoping that the media is really out there blasting
Yeah.
about the primary election. That's where we need to pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to really be hopeful on that one. We have to really be hopeful on that one because here's what I learned. And I know that in your other life, because we all have three or four, you are intimately involved in outreach for Black residents and Black and Latino residents, I would say residents of color in Boston, around getting them access to COVID resources, whether it's testing,
Mhm.
mask, certainly vaccination, information. And one of the things that we talk about often is the how the reality of our information dissemination is directing outcomes. And the English way to say that is that our people in our community and our city get news in a different way.
Yes.
So many times government thinks that if they get a nice press release or press conference televised on channels, 4, 5, or 10 and 25, woo, the whole world's going to know. COVID has drawn home to us that is not how people of color in this city, in this state, get their information.
That's right. That's right. And I am so proud of the team that we've put together that have braved COVID. They PPE'd it up.
People don't think about that. I talk about the Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition every week. People know that. But, Cheryl actually manages day to day. She knows everybody who's out there. People don't think about the fact that our being out there, our outreach, the folks who they see walking and they smile and say, I saw your flyer. Somebody put that flyer there. Somebody was standing outside that clinic. Somebody was standing in front of that school. Those folks, they're taking a risk every day like everybody else, but they do it because they're concerned.
That's right.
So blackbostoncoalition.org, you can always go on the website, get information. We have an incredible series going on right now, 6 weeks. This is week number 3.
Yep.
With around breathing and nutrition, living.
That's right.
In COVID. And it's a different living for Black and brown people. It is. Saturday morning. So if you go on Black Boston COVID,
Coalition.
blackbostoncoalition.org.
That's right.
Just go on and look, and you can register, and you'll get all the email information about the 6-week program. But you don't want to miss it. Breathing. COVID attacks your lungs. First and foremost, there are other organs, but they first come for your lungs. That's why all is about ventilators and breathing. It attacks your lungs. So how we breathe and things we can do, every simple things. We're not talking about go out and spend $200 to get X. We're talking about breathing, learning the proper breathing techniques to be able to help you and help your family get through this, because it's no longer about sending people. Remember a year ago, think about that. If you got COVID, we had a respite sites set up. You could go downtown and stay in a building on a closed college dorm. You could go to the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center and sleep in a bed for 2 weeks. And the reality is, in 2022, ain't nobody sending grandma to the convention center to stay because she got COVID. That's not going to happen. So our whole focus has changed, right? How do you live? How do you live with COVID? How do you live in a house with somebody who has COVID? How do you live as a parent when you have COVID and your children don't? How do you live as a parent when your children have COVID and you don't? Have spouses, your husband has COVID and the wife doesn't. Wife has, all of this has become our day-to-day reality. So, I appreciate you. I'm going to have you really end on a totally different note. Just run down to people, just what's happening, where they could go to get testing and vaccines.
Fantastic. We're really excited because we're now testing in our communities all 7 days. We've added 3 new sites to the 2 sites we already had. Every Tuesday through Saturday, they're at the Bowling Building from 12 to 8 p.m.
In Nubian Square. That's right.
Nubian Square on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're up in Mattapan at Jubilee. A couple of different times in the evening. And then at the Lila G. Frederick, we're there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tuesday, we're at the Roxbury Multi-Service Center from 3 to 7 p.m. Friday, we're at the Immigrant Family Services Center, 3 to 7 p.m. One of our partners, our Prince Hall family and partner, they are testing Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays,
Wednesday, and Friday testing and vaccine every day. I have got this down.
Thank you. Good. Right, but you can find all this information on our website. We're getting everybody to share everybody's information, so no one has an excuse on why they did not get tested, why you don't know whether or not you have COVID. If you're safe in your home, if you're having people in your home, get tested. If you haven't been fully vaccinated, get vaccinated. People are still dying. People are still getting sick. And the bad news is that they say another surge is coming. We want to be in front of it. We're making sure that our people have access. We're making sure that they're paying attention to Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Rosendale. Those are the 5 zip codes that we have been working in consistently since March of 2020. Why? Because the governor's numbers that come out, or the city's numbers that come out every day, they say those are the 5 highest zip codes. So we don't understand why the resources are not filtering all the way into those areas, but we're Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition's on the ground to make sure we're the eyes and ears on the ground. And we hope your eyes and ears are on the ground and you will let us know. But join us, right? Join us tomorrow morning at 9:30 on Black Boston
Saturday
COVID-19.
morning.
Oh, that's right. Days working so hard.
Done the week.
Saturday morning. That's right. Saturday morning, 9:30.
Get your cup of tea and just listen in. You can come on video if you're decent. If not, just listen into the information because it's powerful. BlackBostonCoalition.org. Cheryl, that's a perfect segue. I said to end on. And I thank you. We're going to continue to have you back. We're in election season, as you said. So we're going to continue to be giving people information on what they need to know around voting, the new voting reform laws and what they're going to, how they impact us. And people, always end on the same note. Physical distance, not social distance. Check on your people. I say that all the time, but it comes with a whole different level of seriousness in this week, because we have seen a spike in suicide. Young people, 30-year-olds. We lost a Jim and Lauren Sampson, the senior attorney for Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. The attorney also New York, the same day, that same Sunday. Miss USA, from all outward accounts, seem to have it all, but that's actually the whole point, right? That's the point of trauma, the isolation. And then when we can't see people, right? So I used to say, give them a call. Now I say FaceTime. You know why? Because I want you to look in their eyes. What'd you say about when I said looking in their eyes, Cheryl? The eyes are the
windows of the soul. And you can tell. You can look in someone's eyes and tell how they're feeling.
That's right. Check on them. We'll be back. Wear your mask. Like us, wear 2 masks. KN95. All of the BBCC events, the Black Boston COVID-19 Coalition events, we also pass out masks, the KN95 masks. And so and we do rapid testing, as she said, on Tuesday and Fridays, PCR testing, Bowling Building, Lila Frederick, and Jubilee. So we have Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan covered. And then on Fridays, vaccines available at Immigrant Family Services Institute, 1626 Blue Hill Avenue. On Tuesday, Roxbury Multi-Service Center, 321 Blue Hill Avenue. For the month of February, we got you covered. We're going to continue to do that. Cheryl Clyburn Crawford, Executive Director of Mass Vote, thank you so much. You have to come back soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Next week, folks. Bye-bye.